Hello, Trojan fans. Welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, joined alongside my partner in crime, Triple Double. We call him Connor Morrissette, but his real name's Triple Double. No automatic this week. She'll be on Tunnel Vision Thursday night. She's a little under the weather, I guess similar to the way I was after the USC-Iowa game. But I'm back. And we'll get India back for Tunnel Vision, like I said, on Thursday night. But it'll just be Connor and myself today. If you have questions or comments for our show, we'd love to hear from you. Podcast at uscfootball.com. You can also call or text us at 424-254-9141. That's our number. We like to get your texts. We like to get your voicemails. I think we got one today. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, that's where most of you guys get your podcast. But you can get this Peristyle Podcast anywhere. We do love to hear from you. We love the reviews. It's great. You can put reviews on there, or on Spotify, you can actually put comments on individual shows. So that's fun. And we are live on YouTube and live on Facebook. So I will be monitoring your in-chat comments or comments from the chat. We got a bunch of people in the YouTube one already. If you're on Facebook, we want to hear from you too. So yeah, just get in there and put your comments in, and I'll try to put them up on the screen and say hello to everybody along the ways. We got Jeff's in there. One of our top listeners, he says, "That rain get you, Ryan." Yeah, it got me. The weather. I wasn't ready for the weather, but I don't know. I just got a little under the weather. And but I'm back. I'm ready to go. Trojan Fight says, "Fight on, guys." Mark always says hello to us, which is great. Tim, happy Wednesday. So thanks to everybody in chat. And thanks for Connor for being here. We got to get a lot of thoughts from him. Backward hats and burning boats and all that stuff. How you doing, Connor?
Doing well, Ryan. Good to see you. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We wish we had India here, but we don't. But it'll be okay. We do have our friends over at Trader Joe's here, and I know Connor's going to be heading there because our buddy John there just sent us some holiday gift cards. So thank you, John, for doing that so we can jump in there. I've been doing a lot of Trader Joe's breakfast stuff with the English muffins I've been getting like every time. And I get the granola, and I like the Trader Joe's yogurt, and then the bananas, and just kind of mix that up. It's sort of like a cereal thing that I mix together. And that's been good to me. But I went back to the well, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and get me another meatball calzone because I had to do that. Yeah. So they do have pizza sauce next to the calzones, and I didn't buy that, but I think you can like put some sauce on top. Like there's sauce in the calzone, and there's good meatballs in there. But I think I'm going to next time get the sauce and pour it over the top too. So maybe I'll make some pasta with it or something, and you can get the sauce going. But I would recommend the meatball calzones. It's some good stuff.
Once again, making me hungry as we do this show around lunchtime. But yeah, thank you so much to John. Always so generous, not only with the gift cards, but the sponsorship, his time. It really means a lot. Yeah.
Thanks to Trader Joe's. They've been great. And he's also, so I do some work over at the Salvation Army just around the street, around the corner. And our Podcast of Champions, we were giving away some Trader Joe's gift cards that they had donated. And one of the winners for the week decided to give it back, so I'm going to bring it over to the Salvation Army. And then John sent me some extra ones so I can do a little more for the food bank over at the Salvation Army. With Thanksgiving coming up, it's pretty cool. So it's a great company, and we're really proud and happy to be working with them. Fortunate that they work with us. I don't know why they're doing with us, but I'm glad they do. So
yes, it's hard to get in with Trader Joe's, but you've made some big inroads, Ryan, and the partnership is going great.
They're awesome. Yeah, we love Trader Joe's, and we love all of our listeners out there. So if you're on YouTube, we got some questions already. So in the YouTube chat, so thank you for being active in that. I will star those and get back to those later on. If they're funny comments as we go and I can see them as we're talking, I will put them up on the screen. It's a little harder when there's just two of us because we got to talk, but I will put them up there as we go. And if I do see a question, I will start and we'll get back to it at the end of the show. So good stuff. USC defeats Iowa. I got some photos here. 26-21. Good come from behind victory. We've talked about it a bunch already, but crazy rainy weather, wet field conditions, and I don't know, any kind of, after your rewatch, any sort of takeaways that you had from the game, Connor?
I watched it back this morning, and overall, what a great college football game that was, where you have an Iowa defense that is so disciplined and is talented, just a really good unit going up against Lincoln Riley's offense that is clicking. And I just really enjoyed watching the chess match. That was something that we were really excited about going into the game. And what made the game so satisfying, outside of it keeps USC alive for the playoff and it gives USC a 3-game winning streak, I felt like USC on both sides of the ball in the second half executed at a very high level. They were consistent. Iowa was solid, especially on defense, to even really good, and USC just out-executed them, which when Lincoln Riley was hired at USC, that was the expectation. Eventually, he would be able to get an offense up to speed that could outmaneuver some really good defenses, and that's what we've seen this year. So that's my overarching take after that game. Like, I didn't leave the game saying, oh, Iowa did not play well. USC, they were gifted this win. No, USC just went out and beat them, and I think that is why we've seen Riley be so happy and animated after the game. Like, that was a really significant win for USC. Yes, they were favored, and it was at home, but to win the game in that way, where they were down 11 points at halftime and they just needed to respond in the second half, getting that response was huge. It sets the team up to keep pushing for the playoff, but I just thought they're playing their best football at the best time, which that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, big win there. I mean, Michigan one was the biggest one, I think, of the season, but this was a really important one. The way that it's sort of like the styles are so different.
Michigan's the worst 8-2 team I've ever seen.
But they're 8-2. They're up there. They're highly ranked.
That wasn't a shot at the USC win, but if Iowa played Michigan, I like Iowa, I think, in that game. Michigan, I don't think, is all that great, but they find ways to win, so I'll give them credit.
Yeah.
They had 5 turnovers. What the hell was Northwestern doing losing that game, getting the turnover advantage 5-0, the way that one shook out? What a frustrating game that was.
Certainly frustrating. I would say, most teams are flawed, and we don't have as many. And it's hard. You can nitpick a lot. But at the end of the day, USC's 8-2 and 6-1. And last year at this time, USC was 4-6. Is that correct?
I think the worst they were was 4-5, right?
4-5. Was it 4-5? Did they lose the last? Oh, maybe.
I don't think they were ever 4-6.
Okay.
Because they lost the last Notre Dame game to get to 6 losses.
Oh, okay, yeah. So 4-5.
And they made the change.
Yeah. Then no, they made the change before that. Because it was 4 games left, right? Oh, no, there was 3.
Yep.
Oh, 4-5. Okay, 4-5, and then made the change, 3-1 the rest of the way.
At this point last year, they were 5-5.
Yeah. Which, way better to be 8-2 than 5-5.
Well, and look at Jade Mayava's record. All of a sudden, 3-1 last year, 8-2 this year. Doing math on the fly, what's that? 11-3. It's pretty good.
That's not bad. So good. Yeah, good on him. We actually had Jade Mayava this week on Tunnel Vision. So if you want to check that out, he got to chat about being the starting quarterback at USC and all the challenges and being a leader and being statistically up near the top of a lot of these great quarterback categories. He's right there. So you got to give Lincoln Riley credit for sticking with him through the offseason. So we weren't sure if they were going to go and get some guy from the portal, and then making sure that he could develop as a player. And he certainly has. He looks a lot better. He's still got that upside, but I think they've raised the floor a lot on him. And you said Lincoln Riley was super happy after the game. He was all wet. Now, I'm going to show you a photo. You notice his hat. It's facing forward. You can see the SC logo on it. Now, it was raining. I think you like that. That's one of the benefits of wearing a hat. It feels like you got an umbrella on. It keeps your face dry a little bit. But you've seen this the last few weeks. There's this one, the backwards hat going on. So I know you did a lot of detailed reporting on this, so I want to get your thoughts. What's going on there with the backwards hat?
Well, he was asked about it, and he just said, "This is what I'm doing." Not really any detailed reporting. I liked what Chris had to say.
Super detailed, I thought,
yesterday about how the team is up for the occasion and they're having fun. Like Riley's in fun mode, where last year at this point in the season, they did get that win against Nebraska, but when you bench the quarterback and you're out of the playoff race by the middle of October, you're not exactly having so much fun. So that's part of it. My conspiracy is that he's kind of sticking it to fans and to the administration and saying, oh, you didn't want me here after last year. Now look at me. I'm 8-2. I'm going to wear my hat backwards. Ha ha. I think I'm maybe overthinking that one a little bit, but that is just something that's popped into my head. I'm sure we'll get some comments. What are you talking about? You don't know anything. I'm used to it. Say whatever you want to say. But I do think there's a little bit of that, and maybe it has nothing to do with the backwards hat. But in general, I think Riley a little bit is talking his talk right now because, let's face it, the last couple of years weren't great. And if this year didn't go well, USC making a change was realistic. But what's happened? They're 8-2, and they have a chance to potentially go 10-2, make the playoff. Even if they go 9-3, that's a hell of a season, a hell of a turnaround. And Lincoln Riley is saying, without saying, remember, I'm pretty damn good at this. And I think that has a little bit to do with why he's got the hat on backwards. That's my conspiracy.
A little swagger. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe he just appreciates Shotgun and what he brings to the table.
Maybe it's that.
It could be some of that. We definitely need to get Shotgun weighing in on this because he's a backward hat aficionado doing that. Yeah, there is some – you get a feel for like chip on your shoulder kind of thing. The Trojans Live, I know you watched.
How do you like the Gameday comments?
Yeah, well, he was just sort of like crapping on Gameday. They're like, they said we suck. I didn't forget that or whatever it was. I don't know if you want to summarize what he was saying there, but it was like,
Sean Cody asked him, does the element of having Gameday there and just being such a big game change anything this week? And Riley went out of his way to say, he didn't say Gameday specifically, but he said those people all thought we were going to suck. And I wasn't paying attention then. Why would I pay attention now? We haven't forgotten that. That was the key piece. He is trying to get one over on those guys. Motivation. He did not forget what they had to say about USC. And look, I mean, I picked him to go 8-4. I think you did too. So not maybe as bad as some people had him. Did David Woods have 6-6 again? I forget.
Yeah, I think he did. So it's funny. Harvey Hyde mentioned this because we forgot about like the beginning of the season. USC was over/under win total was 7.5.
Yep.
So being already over that, if you bet the over, and we were all pretty confident on the over for that one, but it was hard to get from 8-4 to 9-3. There was a path, but you could see not quite getting there. But they've won those games that you would need to win. You had to beat Michigan at home. You had to beat Nebraska on the road. You had to beat Iowa. They've sort of been chalk where you felt like losses were at Illinois and at Notre Dame. That's where USC lost. They won the rest, which was hard to picture you're going to win the rest, but they did. And now you have an opportunity. You lose to Oregon, it's chalk. You beat Oregon, and it's like, wow, now 10-2 and a playoff berth. So I agree with you. There's a lot of upside for me in this game, and probably, like you said in instant analysis, like more pressure on Dan Lanning in Oregon than I'd say USC.
And Riley, it all comes back to him just having that swagger back. The offense is playing much better. Jaden Maiava is looking like a classic Lincoln Riley coach quarterback. And something that I talked about with Riley on Sunday, you've been critical of Riley. I've certainly been critical of Lincoln Riley, not Riley Sager, our intern. And it's just all about the scoreboard. And when you win these games and you recruit at a high level, what are we going to say? We're going to say, great job. This is what USC should be doing. They've invested so many resources into getting this right. They're getting it right. And so I think the past criticisms that we've had were still fair. And I was a little bit on the fence about whether Lincoln Riley would be able to figure this out. He's figuring it out in real time. If they do go 9-3, 10-2, unquestionably, he has figured it out. And then everything is building up towards next season where USC on paper will have a great opportunity to potentially get even better. Schedule's a little harder. And then there is the backdrop of Riley entertaining other coaching offers, so that's something we can get into as well. But you just wanted to see progress, see a build towards something great, and unquestionably, the last 3 weeks, that's what we're seeing. I give him full credit. He's doing what I wasn't sure he would be able to do, and he is, and it's working, and tip of the cap.
Yeah, no, for sure, he's doing a great job. I don't know if I would go as far as giving an extension at this point.
If they make the playoff, I think you should. I know I wanted to get into this with you.
Yes.
Because look, if he does something that no one has ever done at USC before and other coaches are going for crazy money and he's losing a little bit of that luster of being in the top 5, I think Signetti's ahead of him now. Reset the market. If you get in the playoff, if you do something that you've never done before, I think that's just the reality where you want him to feel appreciated. You want him to stick around. You got to pay him the money, which is crazy. I know his deal is crazy.
He's already been paid the money.
But if he gets to the playoff, you got to reposition yourself and show him that you are all in. Because I don't think the administration coming into this year was all in with Riley. They make the playoff, you got to be all in with him.
Yeah, and I think there's other ways you can go. I mean, he's in year 4 of a 10-year deal.
Yes, it's crazy to say, but I just think
like
that's the way it works.
$11 million a year. Yeah, for me, I'd rather see with all these big buyouts. Now, James Franklin, his buyout got knocked down to $9 million because he took the Virginia Tech job, and they're putting a lot of money into that. And it actually probably works out for him because his contract said you needed to look for another job. He wanted to work right away. He didn't care.
And he left no money on the table, by the way. He's getting paid a lot.
Right. So then that offsets. So he's going to get like a $9 million lump sum instead of he would have got like $8 million a year for the next 6 years or something. So like there's ways around some of these big buyouts, but I think Riley's already very well compensated. And I think
and I'm not debating that. He is.
If you make the playoffs or something, I don't think it's worth. I mean, I think that's what you should have been doing. I think that's par. Like, I don't think he's hitting a birdie here. If you just squeak into the playoffs. So I would wait another year or something. And if they're doing that, and it looks like with the number 1 recruiting class and everything's going forward, like, yeah, okay, I think you could entertain that. But man, they're just trying to get out from under this contract. I wouldn't double down and give them even more and then see them, go back down to the tank or whatever.
But that's why the scoreboard is so important. What if
it is?
He says, "Look, either new deal or I'm out."
Yeah, so
might get to that point.
And I think you have to make the choice if you're USC because it's worked. It took a while to work, but if it's working, and do you feel it's a 1-year thing, and would the same thing happen next year where you're going to be a top 8 team and you're going to be in the playoff and maybe host a playoff game? Then if you felt for sure you could do that and Lincoln Riley was guy, then I think the administration would have to consider it. But man, like I just you don't want to get too much over your skis. We saw like Nico Iamaleava sort of do that where he already got the big deal. It was like Lincoln Riley got this massive fat
I think it's
contract.
a little different player versus coach.
It is, but he got a really fat deal. And the similarities are he wasn't performing to the $2.5 million a year quarterback. He was fine. And you could say the same thing about Lincoln Riley. And then he said, hey, I want to get Carson Beck money. And they're like, go get it, but we're not going to do it here. So it's like the administration needed to make a choice. They made a choice there, let Nico go. He ends up signing for less money. So it's not always what you wish for. Sometimes, like, I feel like Lincoln Riley, if he makes the playoff, like, that's where his $11 million salary should be. I feel like that's where he should be. Not like, okay, you got to pay more. Now, you're right. The market's kind of crazy, and other people are going to throw a bunch of money at him, and then you might have to make a choice. But I feel like making the playoff is, kind of minimum for what you should be doing at making $11 million a year.
And I completely agree with you, but you need to do whatever it takes to keep him around if push comes to shove. So
yeah,
it's crazy that we're having this conversation, but that's the reality. And I just want to say, I've seen some people confuse my stance. This is contingent upon them beating Oregon and beating UCLA and making the playoff. There's no extension at 9-3.
Yeah, and Tim says you could restructure his buyout. Yeah, and that's the thing. Maybe you do extend, but you're like, look, we're not paying you. Like it's the from what I was told, the details of the contract are very, very, very pro coach. So it's not just the money. It's like everything is going the coach's way. So maybe you do it so it's a little bit more like, hey, we do well, you're doing well. One of those things like the Fisher investments, like we do better when you do better. One of those things. So maybe it could be something like that too. So it could be an opportunity to restructure the deal that helps the school out too, but you're still compensating the coach more. So maybe there'd be something like that.
I wonder if he'd play ball on that. That's a fascinating.
And if you don't, then it's like, okay, then yeah. What do you need everything like leaning your way as the coach, or like can the school have some? Because from what I've told, it's like it just leans Lincoln Riley's way.
But he finally has some leverage here where he can say, look, if I'm out of here, then you guys are toast next season. We could potentially get Jaden Maiava back. We could potentially get some key players on defense back. And yes, the schedule is tough, but we're built for next year. We had a really good season this year. And we're talking big picture. We got to get into this Oregon game too, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about this crazy coaching carousel stuff with Riley when it's probably not even going to happen, but it could, which is why we need to be talking about it. If he comes to the table and lays that out, then USC might be in a tough spot, which at the beginning of the year, we had the conversation. If they didn't play well and he leaves, that might be doing them a favor. I think the script has totally flipped on that. And again, that's why it's so much fun to pay attention week to week and just look at the scoreboard. Like the scoreboard dictates what happens, and they're winning games, and that totally changes the equation with Riley. It's a fascinating part of this whole season.
All right. Feel good story about Jakeem Stewart. You were rewatching the game. Maybe you want to share that.
Sure. So I was watching this morning. It was on Big Ten Network. Usually I fast forward through that beginning part and just try to get to the game. But Big Ten Network, they had the camera on the USC locker room right outside when the guys walk out and then down the tunnel. And it just caught my eye. So Jakeem Stewart comes out, and then he walks for a couple paces, turns around, and just stays in the downpour and high-fives all of his teammates. And that just spoke to the kind of leader that he is, because we've just heard nothing but good things about Jakeem Stewart this year. So I definitely wanted to bring that up. So thank you, Ryan, for starting the conversation there. He just has done everything right from everything we've heard, and he seems like a great ambassador to the program. He's also a damn good player. He's still learning to play college football, of course, but it seems like once every game he makes some play that you're like, oh, I really notice him. He looks special. That was the interception. A little bit at the right place at the right time with that, but still, he changed the game with that pick. And it's not only what he's doing on the field that impresses me. I think it's what he does off the field that impresses me even more.
Yeah. No, great kid. And when he comes to the game, like he just
does stuff.
He makes plays. I mean, your question why he's not in more, I don't know. But yeah, but that was a cool moment that you captured. And one of the handlers, or one of our friends that handles Traveler, said he's the only player that comes over and says hi to Traveler and stuff too. I think that's the. Let me pull up what the exact tweet was. But yeah, it was one of those situations where you're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
The kid just loves USC, and you talk about building blocks for a program. He is so clearly a building block for what USC wants to do, not only this year, but moving forward, where if you have someone who's a freshman leading like that, just imagine what he's going to be doing the next couple of years. So things are certainly trending in the right direction for USC right now, which is great. And even if they lose to Oregon, I don't think that totally changes much. If they win, the good vibes keep going, of course.
It was DJ. He said,
yes.
Connor, he's the only player to come up and say hi to Traveler in the tunnel every game. He's a unique kid in many ways. So happy he got the pick. Yeah. He did get that interception.
And listen to him talk after the game. He has a professional mindset. Our friend Ryan Karchi in the LA Times wrote a great story talking about how when Jakeem Stewart was in high school and he would train with NFL players in the offseason, he would give the NFL players tips on how to defend blocks and just how to play the game. Like, he is everything that USC was looking for, and he's just scratching the surface, too. I think he only played 14 defensive snaps against Iowa last week. So a great story and just a great first chapter for him. I think as the book continues to grow on him, it's going to get better and better, and a lot of that comes down to his mindset. But remember, Ryan, we talked to him for House of Victory at the beginning of the year. I was blown away with what he had to say then. Every time he talks, it doesn't sound like a kid who should be in high school. It sounds like a kid who's ready for the NFL.
Yeah, so good kudos to him, and good stuff there. I don't know if you got to watch the college football playoff selection show. There was a new committee chair with the Baylor controversy. The AD had to step down. He got into it with a player or something on the sideline. I forget. I didn't even get into that much. But like the Baylor AD had there was some controversy with him, so he steps down. And Utah's AD ends up coming in, who got like a short stint the last time. He only had a 1-year one. But yeah, so USC is number 15. Pretty good spot. Oregon, number 7. Some people thought they might drop a little bit just because there's like a lack of quality wins. There's talk that maybe if Oregon goes 10-2, like loses to USC, that they might not get in. But I think you're 10-2, you're probably getting in. But there could be a logjam of 10-2 teams, and then you're looking at different resumes, and there's going to be some 9-3 SEC team that they're going to be like, oh, we're better than Oregon or USC or whatever. But it seems pretty, USC getting in at 10-2 if they went out, it seems pretty solid. I think it'd take a really wild thing to happen for that to not happen, but it seems like pretty much a lock with some of the quality wins that USC would have, especially this one on the road. But yeah, coming in at 15, good spot. Just to be relevant, I think, is what's important. Like, you weren't relevant last year, you're relevant this year.
Totally agree with that. And I see a lot of fans are saying, if we go 10-2, we're going to get jobbed. I just don't see it the same way. The fact that an Oregon victory would give USC, especially on the road, that marquee win, that has to vault them in front of a Vanderbilt, in front of a BYU, a Utah. Like, those teams just don't have that quality victory that USC would have. So I don't know if it would totally flip USC up to 7 and they'd switch with Oregon if they do win, but I don't want fans to put the cart before the horse and say, oh, there's a path to us getting screwed if we go 10-2. If they finish 10-2 and they're third in the Big Ten with a win on the road against Oregon, losses only to Notre Dame in Illinois, I would resign before, that's how confident I would be that they'd be in. I'll give you 2 weeks if they don't get in and they're 10-2. Like, they're getting in. The third place team in the Big Ten who has one loss in conference would get in with a win over Oregon. I know, we got to jump them. Let it all work out. Getting so worked up right now is not worth it. USC has a chance to get a quality win, and that will vault them into the field if they win out. So I disagree with people. Like, is there a small chance they would get screwed? I guess. Never say never. If that happens, then you won't be seeing me anymore. I'll resign.
All right. Save me some payroll. Perfect. So some stuff from practice. You can get maybe the injury update, and then apparently they burned a boat at practice.
Yeah, we got to get more info on that.
Yeah.
There was a boat that looked burned on the field when they would open the door to practice, and Chris and I were peeking in.
And then it was gone.
But Chris did get a souvenir. He picked up one piece of charred wood and put it in my bag, so we do have a piece of the boat. We'll ask Lincoln Riley tomorrow about that. I wanted to get more information before kind of like ambushing him in the scrum and being like, what was this?
What's a burned boat going on?
Yeah, so crazy. That is something to pay attention to. But injury stuff, so...
Yeah, where are we at?
Kamari Ramsey looks the healthiest out of the injured guys. He came out and was in pads and cleats. Can't speak to if he practiced. He didn't have anything that would lead to me believing he was limited, but you never really know. Elijah Paige came out with pads, but no knee braces. Chris is not confident that he'll play Saturday. I think there's a chance. I've been wrong with Paige before, though. I thought he was going to come back earlier than he did this season, so that's something to watch. And then neither of us think Bishop Fitzgerald will play. Lincoln Riley, when asked specifically about those three guys, said we'll have the injury report, let everyone know on that, and they all did stuff today. But I don't think Fitzgerald did a whole lot.
Okay. So we'll see what's going on there. But getting Kamari Ramsey back would be big. Just, he's the green dot guy. Well, the defense played well after both those safeties went out, but
Kennedy Urlacher was all over the field. I really noticed him. He had a touchdown saving tackle on one of those Iowa run plays earlier in the game, too. Of course, the force out on Eugene was great. He looked like he belonged out there, and if he does have a bigger role against Oregon, it's hard when you're a reserve and you're thrust into that spot, but you got to have some confidence in him after what he did last week, so I think that's big.
Yeah, and then Elijah Paige, we've seen the offensive line shuffle a bunch. Jean-Ray Reed was also out for that game. Do we know if he's coming back, or is that?
He was available. He just lost the starting job to O'Connor. They've flipped.
Okay, so he's out there. I thought he didn't dress for Iowa. Did he dress?
I'm pretty sure he dressed.
Okay. Maybe it was in the second half or something, but
did you read that in the ghost notes? Maybe
I just remember seeing him from the press box. I thought
he was snapping. I'm pretty sure to Longstreet in the beginning.
Okay.
Which, if that is like that, usually indicates he's the backup.
Okay. So yeah, fairly confident the offensive line is going to be okay. Just they've been okay the whole way. So that's some decent news on the injury front, at least if you get Kamari Ramsey back. And then we got to talk about playing. We call them Landanning on the podcast of champions. The Oregon Ducks. Dante Moore leading the way. This is a team that, highly ranked offense, highly ranked defense, a bunch of injuries from some of the skill players, but a really good ground attack. And the comp that's been in my mind, Connor, has just been like the Notre Dame game. Like the spread, I think, started like 8.5, where I think that's in like Notre Dame, and then it went to like 9.5, and I think some places it could go higher. So it's in that same range. USC ended up losing on the road to Oregon by 10. Even though they took the lead in the third quarter, and then sort of things fell apart after that kickoff return for a touchdown. But I could see Oregon try to, run on USC, and that's something that Notre Dame did really well. They also did a pretty good job of slowing down USC's run game, but the passing attack can get theirs, and then those turnovers and stuff late really hurt USC. But I don't know. That's the kind of comp in my head. I don't know if you feel the same way, or how you feeling about this.
Similarly, I would say with Oregon, it's just a tough matchup for USC's defense. We can start there, where on the offensive line for the Ducks, they've done such a good job in the running game of moving opposing defensive lines. Heading into last week, Oregon led the country in yards per rush before contact. The running backs are, on average, getting 3 yards down the field before they're even touched, which speaks to how good the offensive line has been for the Ducks. USC's done a nice job defending the run, especially in the second halves of these last 3 games. I do think this Oregon running game is a different beast, mainly because of the offensive lines. You could make a case that Notre Dame certainly has better running backs, and Nebraska has a better running back. But Jordan Davison, he's a true freshman from Mater Dei. He's having a tremendous season. Take nothing away from him. A lot of his success is the offensive line, but he's also really good in his own right. I don't think he's quite up to the standard of those other guys I mentioned, but he's on that track, and he is very capable running back. They got a few other guys, too, who are really good. And then the problem is what Oregon does is, because the offensive line is so good and they can pass protect so well, Dante Moore typically has a lot of time, and he is a good quarterback. He's someone who, when you give him that time, can just make you pay with these short little passes. It's a lot of screen plays and short throws, and it's just death by 1,000 paper cuts in their passing game with some of the injuries that they've had to their wide receivers. Kenyon Sadiq, their great tight end, is back, so he will have a big impact against USC, of course. But I just don't like how Oregon can stress you in both the run and the passing game because their offensive line is so good. I certainly give USC a chance to win this game, but when I look at the matchups, I think Oregon's offense will be able to exploit USC's defense. And then on the flip side, it's up to USC's offense to play, not perfect, but play mistake-free football, keep USC in this game, make a run late. And Oregon's defense is pretty good too. But I'm nervous about the USC defense heading into this one. That's where I start.
Yeah, that's the big one, because you could just see what Notre Dame did.
The pass rush that USC has, there's not a ton there outside of Anthony Lucas getting home every now and then. Yeah,
because USC started the season, they were leading the nation in sacks, and that's dropped off significantly, right? We just haven't seen that. And the one thing, I did a question exchange with our friends over at the Oregon 247 site, and me and Eric so I'll get that up later today. But he was putting, asking about what's the strengths of the, USC defense, and I was like,
yeah, it's hard to say.
I was like, I don't know.
Doesn't that speak to how good D'Anton Lynn is, that they don't really have a strength, and they've held the opposing team to 6 points in the last 3 second halves? I think that's a major feather in the cap of Lynn.
Yeah, but I didn't know what to say, and I was like, well, they've been good at halftime adjustments. That's, the last few games, they've closed things out in the second half, but they don't really. It's not the linebackers or there's not a strength, and on the weakness side, it's okay, they give up some big plays. They're still one of the worst at the chunk plays, I believe. I couldn't find the latest numbers on that, but that wasn't good. And I think just early on too, just not being able to come out of the gate playing well, giving up points very early in games, it's been an issue. But yeah, when you're what's the strength of the defense? And I'm like, I don't know. I wonder what D'Anton Lynn would say. I'm not sure.
Let's ask him today. He's going to talk today. I think that's a good question. Just looking at all 3 levels, I would say the strength is probably the push from the defensive front in the second half. I think the guys are really well conditioned and they have good depth, and getting that push has been huge the last 3 weeks, and I start there. But the linebackers, they can be a strength, but then there are other times where they're young and inexperienced, and they can be a weakness. And the same thing is true of the secondary, especially at the cornerback spot. But we talked about this Saturday or Sunday with Riley Sager, you're seeing an improvement where that's really all you could ask for. The defense is limited, but they're getting better. And the secondary, you're not seeing nearly as many coverage busts as we did early in the year. Iowa had the one when Kamari Ramsey went out. No one covered the tight end on that 3rd and 5 play in the first half, but that was it. And the missed gap assignments in the run game defensively, that has gone away, especially in the second halves of these games. So I give a lot of credit to the defensive coaching staff because pretty early on we saw that this defense from a personnel standpoint, it was better than what it was showing, we thought, but it was clearly limited. And they've figured out how to best utilize these guys, and the fact that you're getting huge plays from backups like Kennedy Urlacher and Jaden Walker is emerging. Christian Pierce starts a lot of games, but he had a bigger role, and he missed a couple tackles, but overall I felt like he had a good game against Iowa. It's the sign of a well-coached group for sure.
I do. Yeah, I agree with you there.
But my strength is that they can just get a good push in the second half. I don't really have anything. It's like they do this amazingly.
No, it couldn't do it. Mark says, biggest factor is how USC can focus and lock in with the environment in Autzen. If they can focus and not have mental mistakes, good chance to win. If not, ND all over. I think starting fast is important, but we saw USC start fast against Notre Dame. We saw USC 3 major momentum plays in that game and gave up the momentum right away. Like, it's one of those situations where it's great to take the crowd out of the game. You can't just have one good play. You need to follow that up with another one. Scored a touchdown. Oh crap, fumble the kickoff afterwards. As soon as USC got their biggest plays, Notre Dame instantly reacted and switched the crowd. So, yeah, it'd be great to get a lead or something at Autzen, but you have to be able to maintain that momentum a little bit. USC couldn't maintain the momentum for at all against the Fighting Irish, and they took momentum at least 3 times and gave it right back in all 3 of them.
I do think USC's grown since that game, but certainly you can't make those same mistakes that they made against Notre Dame. That's a huge part of it. And I'll say this, though. Oregon has some stupid in them. They've made some mistakes of their own. They're 9-1. They're a damn good team. But watching that Minnesota game, they had a really dumb 3rd down call where a true freshman receiver tried to do a pitch to a true freshman running back that resulted in a Minnesota fumble. One of the touchdowns for Oregon was very close to being a touchback, or the running back almost fumbled it out of bounds. Going back to that Iowa game, on the last touchdown drive that Iowa had against Oregon, the play call from Tosh Lupoi on the 4th down, got to have it in the red zone play for Iowa, was really dumb because it didn't account for Gronowski running, and that's all Gronowski does.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. So they're good, and they're 9-1, and they're the favorite, and they have a great chance to win. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but USC's not the only team this season that have made some pretty big mistakes. In Oregon, they've been able to overcome those a little bit better than USC has. But there have been some moments this year where you look at Oregon and they've done some head-scratching things. So in a game like this, it's not exactly reinventing the wheel, this take, but the breaks in a given game are going to be massive. And Oregon, at times this year, has given their opponents some breaks. So if USC can capitalize on that, of course, will make a huge difference.
Yeah. Hold on. I did a podcast last night. Let me pull it up here. Sorry, this is bad. That's okay. Yeah, I did. I forget what the name of it was. Exploring with Ben and Sam. But it was a Ducks podcast, and it was pretty funny, man. The guys were like, they say whatever they want. They were, I don't know. I don't think we have a Ducks fan in the chat. Where'd he go? Yeah, Oregon Grown says go. Yeah, I'll put you up on the thing. He says go Ducks. But I don't know if you saw that podcast, Oregon Grown. But the guys were like smoking and stuff while we're doing the show, and like wearing Ducks gear. And
who was it for? What was it called?
I forget the name of it. I don't know. But I was trying to look it up real quick. But it was fun. They were funny guys. Yeah. So let us know if you're in the chat and watch that one. But it was a fun one to do there. But
I did the Oregon show with the 24/7 Oregon guys yesterday. That was fun too.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, and I went on with Dirt and Sprague. I do a lot of the that's a radio. That's 105, whatever. They're good. I've been on that show like a ton. But yeah, Oregon they obviously really get into this, so we can do a lot of media up there going into this game. It's a big deal. And yes, I think when you talk at the top of the show, probably more pressure on Oregon, but this is one that people in Eugene have circled.
Yeah. Lanning has it circled.
Yeah,
Tosh Lapoy lives
the recruiting
off of
aspect
winning
of
this game.
everything, like that.
But that goes both ways. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think USC getting the upper hand in this last recruiting cycle, which Oregon has pretty much always had the upper hand. The last several years, I would say, this is a big one that you have to, you need to go and play, your A game coming into this one. I think losing close, whatever, it's not going to derail the season, but I think getting blown out up there would be that would not be good.
No, but I don't see that happening. USC rarely gets blown out, and especially the way they're playing right now. If they lose by 10, that's obviously not a blowout. That would lead to Oregon covering the spread by a half point because it's 9.5 right now. I'd be pretty surprised if they lost by more than 10. USC. I think they're in a good place.
Yeah. It's quacking off. So it's
quacking
off. Yeah, co-host of Quacking Off.
You said yes to that?
I did. That was fun. Was the guy? One of the guys was named his nickname was something like. It felt like Beavis and Buttheady a little bit. They were cool dudes and stuff, but totally smoking while we were doing this, and it was pretty funny. So I don't know if you guys, Quacking Off. If you guys, Tim, who's on the beat, he was going to go on. I think he's going on later in the week. Who covers USC? So,
all right,
that was fun. But important game for sure. Real quick there was some news with the Big Ten Enterprises coming out and the UC investments, and I think this is a win for USC. So if you're, we don't have to go into too much detail, but the Big Ten trying to spin off this Big Ten Enterprises, which would be its own entity and would control all of the media rights, and it would be, that would ever go in there, and everyone would get a share of that. And there was tiered versions of it where Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are in a top tier, then USC and Oregon are in the next tier, and then everyone else after that. And money would be distributed unevenly. But and we put some stuff in the war room about this, but USC and Michigan were the two schools that pushed back and said, hey, we don't want this. Michigan, I think, has some other reasons, one of them being that your grant of rights that would be tied up for 20 years instead of 10. And USC not liking which tier they were in. And I don't think they like the being tied to, Purdue and Rutgers and all of that for 20 years when you just don't know what the landscape of college football is going to be in 4 or 5. And I thought I think it was one of the Michigan trustees came out and said, or I forget who it was, but they said some interesting things on that. Hey, we don't know what the sport's going to look like in 4 or 5 years. Why do we want to tie ourselves up? And so both Michigan and USC appeared to be, and the Big Ten came out and was like, hey, we're going to move on without you if you guys don't say yes, and we have some kind of vote or whatever. And USC and Michigan held strong. We're like, all right, do you want 2 of your top 4 brands not on this deal? And game of chicken, USC and Michigan won. The investment that would come in, the UC investments were like, hey, we don't want this if everybody's not on board. We'll just wait. So it's just one of those things where the Big Ten tried to force this through, and USC and Michigan told them to pound sand. And there were some threats made from the Big Ten, and USC, in my opinion, USC and Michigan won. They got what they wanted, and the people that would put the money into this and they would own a 10% stake in this Big Ten Enterprises. They're like, we don't need to go through with this if Michigan and USC aren't involved. We'll figure this out and come back later. So I think it was a really good result for USC. I think they showed some toughness, and a lot of people are behind USC where they don't want private equity or similar type of money getting into college football. But anyway, that's my little summary. I don't know what you think.
Great negotiating tactics by USC. Fine. You're going to do it without us? Go for it.
Yeah.
And then they ended up not having that be the case with the UC Investments Fund, whatever the hell it's called, saying we want all or don't want to do it. So, yeah, I just don't know what's going to happen next now. How long do they wait? What's the future look like? How will USC try to be convinced to go in on the deal? Maybe will they get the biggest portion moving forward, because that was a problem, right, where they weren't getting that first tier of the deal. So that'll be something to pay attention to. But I'm glad this will go away for a little bit so we can focus on the X's and the O's and USC. And I don't really like talking private equity, Ryan.
No, I don't either. But you kind of have to when this stuff is going on. But yeah, kudos to Jen Cohen, all the everyone, the president, everybody standing up to the Big Ten and saying, screw you. Now the Big Ten could come back and be like, what if we give you top tier status? Then USC could reconsider it. But I think that's one of the big sticking points for USC. And I agree with them. All right. Well, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and do your questions. Alrighty, we're back here on Peristyle Podcast. Chat's really active. I know there were some questions that came through there. I starred them, and we'll get back to them later. Peckinpah, what is it? Peckinpah. Does the Big Ten really need PE money? Seems short-sighted. So a lot of schools, athletic departments have changed their whole dynamic. Yes, the Big Ten schools make a lot of money, but there's also, $21 million a year that wasn't in an athletic department's budget is now like, oh, by the way, pay the players $21 million. It's got to come from somewhere. I do think in Michigan, the Michigan, I think it was trustee, said this seems more like a payday loan, and I agree with that. So I think some of this is just like, hey, we need money. Okay, let's take the deal. And a lot of people, I do feel it's kind of short-sighted. So, yes, I agree with that.
How does the investment fund make its money back? If it's front-loading all this money, is it just every year they'll get 10% of the TV deal and that'll pay for itself? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think it's like for a venture capitalist company or whatever. I mean, it's similar. Like you're putting money into something that's small but has potential and then could get bigger. Now, the Big Ten is small, but I think that's where you're trying to get growth. Because
the next TV deal will be huge, so they'll just make out.
Yeah, and then they'll make more money. They have a 10%, stake in that, and so you'll make your money long term. You have money to invest, and this is like, if you put $2.4 billion in, and you get $4 billion out, like then okay, what I don't get, Connor, is, I used to be, when I was an engineer, used to do trading because we knew all these like tech companies, and I would like buy stocks and things and sell them and stuff. And now I just put money in like an indexed mutual fund that has like low cost. Warren Buffett says this is what you should do. He's the greatest investor of all time. He's like, don't mess with individual stocks. Like, why wouldn't you see investments just like put all their money into the S&P 500, let it grow? Probably because there are a whole bunch of people getting paid to invest this money. So I've read stuff about like Harvard's endowment is like $60 billion, and they paid all this money for people to invest it, and it does way worse than like the S&P 500. So I might be over my skis in this one, but I believe it's like, I don't get it. Like, why would the pension fund of the University of California system, this seems like a really, crazy, maybe it's like big upside, but it's like a wild, unprecedented type of investment.
And I'm sure the TV money projections are massive. That has to be it, right?
Yeah, but like, why are you on the cutting edge of like finding investments if you're like the pension fund for you? Like,
great question.
I would much rather you be like, if I'm there, I'm like, yeah, put it in the S&P 500. That's just going to grow. Like, but I don't know how this works. So people that are any finance bros in the chat, let me know. But it's like one of those things that just seems like it's a really weird bedfellow to have. Like, why is the pension fund for the University of California looking for some crazy investment? Like VC, venture capitalist people, when they're private equity, that's what they do. They go in and they'll put a bunch of money in a company or an existing company that's like struggling, and then they change all the management and and then they make it more profitable and they make their money back. This one, UC Investments wouldn't be, that hands-on. They're not running things. They would have like a vote, but like every other school. So it just seems like a weird thing to me. Just it didn't pass the smell test. Like, why would you be doing this? Like, you'd think like you got the pension money of all these people from the UC system. You would be like in bonds or something, and not some crazy investment, which we've never seen before. No one's done something like this. You're going to be the first one. I would figure it'd be some Silicon Valley group of investors and not the University of California pension fund.
I agree with all that. I'm not sure either, and I'm glad this is taking a timeout for now.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just looking to see. So it says investment fund is separate from the UCs. It's more like a union pension fund. Yeah, I mean, but like, I don't know. Maybe there's a bunch of like investment managers that need to like justify their salaries. So instead of like, hey, why don't we just put all the pension fund in the index fund for the S&P 500? Like, no, let's pay a whole bunch of people a bunch of money to invest it and do worse than that would do. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, we have a voicemail. Let's see. Oh, no, we actually don't. I thought we had a voicemail today. We do not have a voicemail. We have some emails. First up, we go to Marcel in the Inland Empire. Do you have any comments about Michigan State's penalty and the difference between Michigan? Did you see this, that Michigan State, like they got, they had to forfeit like the last 3 years of games? I didn't dig into this too much.
I didn't either, but I mean, on its face, Michigan has no trouble with their sign stealing stuff and just get fined, and Moore gets suspended and the show cause for Harbaugh, but then Michigan State has to forfeit a bunch of games. I understand why that would draw some frustration, different kind of infractions, I think, but it just comes down to, if you're the NCAA, do you want to strip Michigan of its title? You probably want to avoid all that, but I get why that would lead fans to be upset, and it certainly looks like Michigan State's being treated differently than Michigan. I am with you, though. I would need to look a little bit deeper into this.
Yeah. We had a comment, Alum55. I believe California pension funds are the largest institutional investors in the U.S. Whoa. I'm no finance pro. That seems crazy. But, yeah. And we had a comment from Mark. I have zero clue on PE and will pretend to. I just know USC shouldn't be second tier. Yeah, they should not. USC should not be second tier in this deal. That's the important thing. I don't think that's something that came from the UC investment fund or with whatever UC investments, like because they're UCLA is part of it or whatever. I think that's to me that's more of a political deal that happened within the Big Ten. Hey, why are you giving the new guy? Even though there's a lot more tradition and everything with USC than Penn State. So I think there was more political things there. If this ever does go through and there's some sort of investment, I think USC would only agree to it if they get in the top tier. So that's my understanding. So we'll see. Right. Okay. Let's see. We had another email. Sorry about that. Dexter, after losses to Illinois and Notre Dame, I sent some pretty negative questions about. I sent some pretty negative questions about Lincoln Riley. After this win, I felt it was only fair to give credit where credit's due. What a great win. The team showed the toughness and grit to pull out the comeback with the rain, the comeback win in the rain. Love seeing coaches' emotions at the end of the game. Definitely makes me feel like the program is headed in the right direction. Is Lincoln officially off the hot seat? That's from Dexter.
Hell yeah, he is. Officially off the hot seat.
Yeah. I don't think there was I didn't think there was like some kind of hot seat thing.
I did if they kept losing.
Yeah.
Like, so they lose to Notre Dame. Was he on the hot seat then? No. But say they lost another game and then they lose to Oregon and then that's 4 and UCLA, you can get to 8-4. I think that would have been enough to be safe, but it pretty quickly could have changed, especially if they went 7-5. They didn't. They're building something. They've improved. They've taken steps from last year. The seat is ice cold.
Yeah. Real quick, I just pulled up I know we just kind of glanced over the Michigan State stuff, but it was a 3-year probation, vacating of 14 wins, recruiting restrictions, and a penalty of $30,000 plus a 1.5% of the football's budget, which is that significant.
Because Mel Tucker did what?
He was recruiting violations under Mel Tucker. So he got a show cause penalty, and all their staff did as well. But yeah, the 2022 to 24 vacated all those wins. There was only 14 of them over the 3 years, but yeah. So it's
yeah. If they had won a national championship, they probably would have skipped over that year.
Right, which like they did for Michigan. And I think in the chat, someone said that Michigan State admitted to it, and Michigan denied. I think part of the thing is like getting rid of Mel Tucker too, because he had a crazy deal. I think it's one of those cases where you want your coach to have done something wrong because then you could fire him for cause.
Because he sucks so bad.
But then you can fire him for cause, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing there. We got a super chat. Look at this. Pull it up. Alan, St. Louis.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you. Pension funds have a fiduciary duty to diversify their investments. They cannot put all their money into stocks, bonds, ETFs. They need a bit of everything. Okay.
So that's why they'd look to the Big Ten.
But I mean, you could diversify without like, okay, we're getting into real estate, or we're getting into like no one's ever done this before. We're going to put a bunch of my $2.5 billion into
Connor Morrissette
a
Industries.
Conference. Yeah, a conference creating this new entity with their media rights deals and 18 schools all tied together. Like, that's not diversity. That's like you're acting like a venture capitalist here, which I guess they have to do. But yeah. That's crazy. But thank you, Alan, for that. He gave us some knowledge and gave us some money. So we appreciate that.
Best of both worlds.
And B. Beckenpath, Lincoln Riley Coach of the Year candidate was just announced. Yes, he was on some Coach of the Year. What was that? What was the...
Forget the guy's name, but some Coach of the Year semifinalist. It's Kurt Cignetti's to lose, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, I would go with that as well. I'm not big into these watch lists. Even like the Bolitnikov semifinalist thing.
You don't like that one? I thought that one was cool.
It's fine, but there's still 13 guys in the semifinalists. So I want to get tell me when there's 4 left. 3 or 4 left. Then you're like, okay, I got it. Yeah, Dog's Life in Portland says you can diversify with different mutual funds, REITs, etc. Yeah, I think. You don't need to create some brand new investment that never existed to diversify. So, and then Brian says everyone should be concerned with PE, lack of transparency. I think this is a little bit different than like a typical PE where, one company basically buys another and then they put their own management and they control. Like if they were going to come in and be like, all right, well, here's $2.5 billion. But now we want you to play your games on Tuesdays and, like that kind of stuff. Then I think that would be concerning. I think this is more of it's like a silent partner or, they have a 1-share vote, I believe is the way I understand it. So, yeah. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, you're right. Like my understanding has always been like, if you're bringing in PE money like that, it should be because I need to grow the business, not as what the Michigan trustee said. You shouldn't bring this in as a payday loan because now you're just like building up more. You have a financial problem now that you shouldn't be fixing with this kind of a loan.
Yeah, they don't need to be growing the business. The business is fine.
Yeah,
for most of the schools,
the business is growing on its own. You're doing it. Yeah, but even like Ohio State's, in the red for some of their stuff. Maybe the reason they're agreeing to it, but. Michigan seems to be, I like where Michigan's stance is, and USC's even stronger stance just because they're not in that top tier, so they have a reason not to be. If you're, Minnesota, you want to be tied to Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and USC and Oregon as long as you possibly can. So the bottom dwelling schools, that's a good deal for them. Oh yeah, we'll sign granted rights for 20 years. So Ohio State can never leave us. Michigan can never leave us. Like we're all together, where that I think the way you want to look at it, I brought this up before, is if someone came in and like, I don't know, the federal government was like, this is all antitrust, like college sports, the way it exists is, it's un-American. We're blowing it all up. And they just cancel all the contracts and everything. And then everyone's a free agent. Like, is Purdue in a good spot? No, they're going to be similar to what we saw with like Oregon State. Michigan is. So whatever new thing is created, they're not going to leave Michigan out. They're not going to leave Alabama out of this. Like if they blew everything up, who could stand on their own and who would be, picked first on the playground? And USC would be one of those teams that's picked first on the playground. So USC's fine. Like, whatever new form, whatever new thing forms out of college football or college sports, if you're Ohio State, if you're Michigan, if you're Georgia, like you're good. Like it doesn't matter. You're going to be at the cool kids table. It doesn't matter. Purdue isn't, and Rutgers isn't, and Minnesota isn't. They could, but they have a much better chance if they're tied to Ohio State and Michigan and USC and all that. So that's just my opinion on it.
I'm with you on that.
Reggie in Seattle. My voice is kind of going. Curious what you think about USC making Ryan the defensive coordinator if Lynn leaves. He's certainly the most capable and talented on the roster to do so. That's Reggie in Seattle.
I would actually like that because I don't think the defensive coordinator has to recruit at the level position coaches do, where you just kind of have to seal the deal at the end and be around and, of course, recruit and talk to the kids. But it's different than when you're a position coach. So between that piece of it, his track record, and his intelligence, I think it would be great. The question is, would he want to do it? Because I think not that he's close to riding off into the sunset, but didn't he say this is the last thing he's going to do and then he's going to retire? So him taking on a bigger role, I don't know if that would be what he is looking for. If he was all in on it, though, I would be all in on that too.
Yeah. All right, we got a few chat questions, and then we'll let Connor get off to practice. Again, we hope India's feeling better. You can tell my voice is still – I'm not still 100%, but I'm here. I rubbed some dirt on it, Connor. I'm ready to go. One player from both offense and defense you think is underrated and could make an impact against Oregon? Thanks, Brandon, in the chat.
Underrated.
Yeah. We don't have any Facebook people. We need some Facebook comments here. Get in there.
I think a lot of the guys are properly rated. Like coming into the year, King Miller obviously underrated, but I think he's properly rated now. Maybe Tanook Hines still a little bit underrated.
Oh, he could have a big game, yeah.
He drew that big pass interference penalty that led to a touchdown for USC. But just going up and down the roster, like Maiyava's properly rated, I feel like. The two-star receivers are. Lake McCree. Maybe Walker Lyons is a little underrated. He's caught a big pass the last few weeks. The offensive line, I feel the same way. Brian Jackson, I think, is properly rated. So, yeah, I guess I'd say Tanook Hines and Walker Lyons. And then defensively, underrated. Christian Pierce is underrated to me.
Yeah.
I like what I've seen from him.
You might see some more Kennedy Urlacher kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a little early for him to be rated any which way, but he was great against
Marcellus Williams,
Iowa.
maybe.
I think he's properly rated. Yeah, I guess I'd say Christian Pierce. Next year, when he comes back and is the guy, you could see a huge jump from him.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. Brian, so we wanted to bring this up because we were talking about the Rob Ryan stuff. Not all impressed with Ryan's job so far.
I get that, but the linebackers have gotten better, and the last 3 weeks you're seeing an improvement. Against Michigan, they were better. Look, Notre Dame, that game was a disaster for that group, and that's just it is what it is with that, and they didn't have a great game against Illinois. But look at the last 3 weeks. The defense is so well coached. They're performing better than you would think on paper, which to me points to the staff doing a really good job. They're working really hard to not have the linebackers think too much. When you look at the game, that's apparent. And I get why there would be some frustration in the middle of the year. A lot of people wanted Rob Ryan fired because that's just the way it goes. You don't perform well, then people get upset. But I'd say put more stock into what USC's looked like the last 3 weeks. Because remember, Jaden Walker and Desmond Stevens, they're only in their second years. And the coaching job that we've seen to get those guys to play at the level they are, I think has been pretty good. I get the frustration, but USC is trending in the right direction, especially at that position.
Brian says no tackles for loss versus Iowa. Yeah, that was a bit of a problem. And Allen's got a follow-up.
Okay, fine, but I only care about the scoreboard. They allowed 0 points in the second half. Okay, 7 tackles for loss, but you lost 28-26. I care about the scoreboard. Everyone should care about the scoreboard. Winning the games is the most important thing. Who cares about tackles for loss if you win?
Yeah. Alan St. Louis, I don't think you guys get it. Sorry for being unclear. The pension funds have so much money. They're already invested in everything that there is. They need uncorrelated assets. Okay.
Again, Connor Morrissette Industries.
Yeah.
They're investing in everything. I haven't had my phone ring.
they have so much money they can't invest anymore, like in other stuff. Like we already got billions in this and billions in that and billions in that. Let's find something new.
USCfootball.com.
I think that's actually a good, if you're thinking about it, like if it's a venture capitalist company, they're doing it for like a really specific reason. Like we want to come in and we're going to change all this stuff. Like they're just like, look, take some money. We need to put it somewhere. That's actually kind of reassuring that they're like, they're not going to oversee it. They're going to forget about it. Like, oh yeah, we had $2.5 billion over there. Fine, whatever. Like we have so much money everywhere. So maybe that's a good thing. Let's see. We got Diama. Is it Diama? Let's see.
Damina.
Do you think USC, this is really small on my screen, do you think USC should not schedule multiple cupcakes to start the year? I feel like it amplified expectations for the fan base and possibly stunted the growth of the team's defense some.
I like one cupcake and then a decent team, but doesn't everyone want to schedule more cupcakes and get Notre Dame off the schedule to make it easier to make the playoffs? So I get where the question comes from, but I don't think a lot of the fan base feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the schedules are so weird anyway, but I don't think that hurt you that it amplified expectations. I think you could play poorly against the Cupcakes. We saw Penn State do that, and then you're like, they could be bad. And they were bad. USC played well against the Cupcakes, and we thought they could be pretty good, and they're pretty good. So, I think it still can be a canary in the coal mine. Sometimes you need different teams need to grow or learn in different ways, and I think that's a way you could do that. Tim, do you think Riley's playing poker around Wayman Jordan's status?
Tough to tell. I take him at face value because this year, Riley, to his credit, he's been transparent as much as he wants to be with these injuries, where I thought maybe he was playing poker with Elijah Paige earlier in the season, and that wasn't the case. So just based on that, I don't think he is. Is it possible? Yes, but just based on this year, I don't think that's the case.
He's pretty, he doesn't usually get too crazy with the injury stuff, I think. So I think he's not going to play in this game, I would guess. The fact that he seemed like he was still limping around the Iowa game, it's like, okay, if you're limping, like you're probably not coming back and playing.
If he had dressed last week, I would have felt better, but he didn't dress.
Yeah. Let's see. Damina again. Are you okay with Husan Longstreet transferring out for one more year of Jade Mayava?
I would be.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like you get this proven commodity who's like at the top of the charts, and
look at Texas this year. They have everything but a good quarterback.
Yeah,
and that is a killer.
And they thought they had a good quarterback.
And Longstreet could be tremendous. I'm not trying to say he's bad. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But the unknown at quarterback is scary. If you have a known commodity and he can come back, do everything in your power to get that player back. Imagine another year with Mayava and Lincoln Riley. That would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I think that would yes, I think that's what you want. Just to know that the offense is probably going to be elite, then yes, I think you take that every time and then build around
If Texas had like a healthy Sam Levitt this year, I know he can't stay on the field, but if they just upgraded at that spot, it's hard to do with its Arch Manning. I'm not saying anyone was saying do that at the beginning of the year. Everyone was all in on the guy, but just imagine if they had, they'd be really good.
Trojan fight we had to follow up with the Wayman Jordan thing too, but it was the same along the same line. So, but we already got that Wayman Jordan question. But I think that was all the questions I had from the chat. Anything else you want to bring up, Connor, before we get out of here?
Just fun to be covering a team that is playing meaningful football this late in the year. That hasn't been the case in my first 2 years working with you. So this is great.
So it's your fault that they've been bad.
Well, I'm still here and they're good, so I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, should be a good one. If you are going to the Pacific Northwest, we are having a meetup on Friday. I think we'll probably be there by 7, but you can get there earlier at the 10 Barrel Brewery in Portland, downtown Portland. Go check it out. And food, drinks, just whatever. You can go there and grab a table with your friends and hang out, talk some USC football. But it should be a lot of fun. We went there 2 years ago. Had a blast. I need to buy another hat because I like the hat that I got from there. So get another one of those. But yeah, go check it out. Downtown Portland, Friday night. 10 Barrel Brewing in downtown Portland. Let's go check it out.
Last one of the year, unless it's a fun bowl game and we do a bowl game one. But
yeah, because we got to do Vegas like a bunch last year.
Or the playoff.
That was fun. Yeah, or a playoff or something. So
that'd be a fun one.
Should be, yeah, wherever that was, I guess it would be a road game. Somewhere.
Yeah, in my head, it would be Ole Miss. Imagine USC Ole Miss. That would be amazing.
Ole Miss. There's people talking like, what if it was like Oklahoma? Like if you go to
God.
Norman, like that would be.
That would be something.
Jeff's not making this road trip. Bummer, Jeff. He goes to all of them.
I miss you, Jeff.
Yeah, we will definitely miss you. It's not going to be the same without you. I'm going to bring the jacket though, Jeff. So we'll see. Do I have the jacket here somewhere? I might have had it. I don't think I have on this one. Yeah, jacket is going to make the trip, and I don't think it's going to rain now, right? Like it was the last I looked.
Yeah, it looked sunny and 50 degrees.
Yeah, so the jacket will be perfect for that. It's not great for wet, but for cold, it's good.
And the jacket is undefeated for Big Ten home games?
Road games. Big Ten road games.
Big Ten road games.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of a Big Ten road game here.
Yeah. So is it going to be Big Ten road games that are in a different time zone or just all Big Ten road games?
Hopefully all.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I didn't think about that.
That's the only other caveat we could throw in there. So the jacket can stay undefeated no matter what.
Yes.
But you'd rather it be for all Big Ten road games.
Of course.
I didn't bring it to Illinois because it was warm.
And that's your fault.
Yeah, so I should have, that it was warm there. USC has played in some crazy
Your fault they lost.
weather. Lightning delays, like multiple, heavy rain. Usually that's like one time a year you get something like that. And this year there's been a bunch. To have a home game like in a monsoon is like wild. Like 2016, like the last time that's happened. So pretty crazy weather this year. But it's nice that you go to Eugene and not get something too terrible.
I'm with you. The fact that it's going to be sunny this late in the year, huge win.
Yeah. All right, perfect stuff. Well, that's Connor Morrissette. I'm Ryan Abraham. We missed Automatic India Auto, but she'll be back for our Tunnel Vision show on Thursday night. Tons of content going up over at uscfootball.com. Make sure you go check everything out. If you're not a subscriber, jump in there. You will not regret it. But we appreciate all of you tuning in, listening, watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook. And I appreciate Connor. And I guess early happy Thanksgiving, everyone. But hope you guys all enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.